All right, good evening, everybody. This is Dr. Sean, the physical therapy application coach, here with Mel. Mel, how are you doing tonight?
Great. How are you?
I'm doing great, doing great. Where are you coming from?
So I'm coming from Los Angeles, California.
Wonderful. How is it in LA right now?
It
Sunny?
is,
No, it's nighttime.
it's kind of bipolar. We'll get
Really?
like really hot days and then really cold days. So it's kind of all over the place.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, that's fine. You get a little bit of everything then.
Yeah.
So, Mel, we're here to celebrate you and to celebrate your pre-PT success story and journey. So give everybody a little bit of an opportunity to get to know you. How did everything start out on your pre-PT journey?
Right. So I did my undergrad at UC Irvine. And initially I was medical school bound. But the more research I did and some volunteer work I did, it made me realize that med school wasn't for me and that wasn't the route I wanted to go on. So I think it was my mid second year. I was like, okay, I need to start looking into other like potential careers to go into. And I thought I'd give physical therapy a try. I have a few family members who are physical therapists. So I knew if I had any questions, like they'd be great resources to go to. Um, and after doing some research, and I ended up emailing like 10 different PTs that day, seeing
Wow.
if they needed some extra help, if I can come in and volunteer. And one did come back saying they needed some help. And I think a few days later, I started to volunteer there. And like immediately, I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. Like, I was so excited to start. And that's kind of how it started from there.
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
So when was that? How many years ago was that when you finally
This was
decided?
I think it was the summer of my third year going into my fourth year. So it was kind of a little bit late.
Sure.
I was a bio major, so like all my prereqs, I was like on track for everything, but like exactly knowing what I wanted to do was like probably end of my third year.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Gotcha. So, and this is conversation that we had before. You mentioned that you took a gap year to
I
get
did.
ready. So talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, I knew taking the GRE would take, a few months to study for, and I didn't feel super comfortable doing that during undergrad. So I was like, okay,
Sure.
I'll take some time off. I'll take my gap year, study for the GRE, take some additional like prereq classes that I wasn't able to take. So I kind of filled up my gap year doing that, and yeah, I was pretty busy with that.
Cool. Cool. I think it's a lot of applicants will ask me like, there is no one story for when's the right time to apply, right? Like
Right.
if
Yeah.
you want to be as fast as possible, we can talk about that. But I think it's great if people feel like they need to take a gap year. Sometimes like their undergrad was just super stressful and they need to decompress a little bit and kind of regather themselves.
Right. That was also kind of me. It was a
Yeah,
lot. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Especially like bio major is not easy, right?
Right. And I
Because
also did a minor in business. So I was
uh,
constantly taking classes and throughout
gotcha.
summers and everything. So yeah.
Sure. So I just hope applicants will realize it's okay. It's okay if you need to take a gap year or if you want to go straight into it, or if you're a non-traditional student, like there's so many different paths to get there.
100%. Yeah.
Good for you for finding what worked for you in that moment. So let's talk a little bit. Again, this was pre-conversation that was recorded.
Right.
You'd mentioned that you felt like you were kind of a middle of the road applicant. Talk to us a little bit about that for some of those people who maybe feel like, oh, should I apply? What do I do?
Yeah. So I'm going to be completely honest with you. My GPA and GRE scores were pretty much dead set average, like nothing special about them, nothing insane, pretty much just straight average. And I knew applying to PT school, I've heard that it is a numbers game, right? So I like a lot of schools that like look at certain numbers and be like, okay, no, or like, yeah, they made it past that. And that initially really scared me and gave me a lot of like doubt about myself. Like, am I even good enough to meet like certain expectations? Um, but I soon learned that there's so many other components that go into your application and you're more than just a number. So in order to like make yourself come across like a really strong applicant, you utilize those other components in your application to show that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Very good. So let's talk about more of the fun stuff now. So you get ready to start your application, and then I guess we'll jump to this. And
Yeah.
then how did you find physical therapy application coach? How did that
Yeah, so
come
I think it
across
was
you?
right when PTcast opened, and I was like scrolling through like every single part of it. I was like, this is a little overwhelming. And I was like wondering if anyone did any like walkthrough videos. So I go on YouTube and I search up like PTcast walkthroughs, and yours was like the first one to come up. It was like 3 or 4 videos, and it went into depth on like each section. I was like, wow, this guy is so helpful. And it was like right after too, I think, do like a webinar on the PTcast essay.
Mm-hmm.
And I would watch that like over and over again, like trying to think of ways to start it and like get my, like, the ball rolling on that. And so that's pretty much how I came across you. Yeah.
You just watched all my old stuff.
Right. Yeah.
That's great. I've been meaning to do another PTcast walkthrough, but things have gotten busy.
It was
It's
super
a little
helpful.
different.
So
It's a little different. So I'm going to do an updated one though,
yeah.
but I'm glad that it was helpful for you.
Yeah.
And after we started working together, how do you feel like using physical therapy application coach help you to organize and structure your essays?
Well, I just feel like, the application essay is not something you do a lot in undergrad. It was, the writing classes you take and the essays you write are more like geared toward assignments, and you don't really talk about yourself. So the biggest thing for me was learning how to talk about myself and really like show off my qualities and my attributes without, like, for me, I honestly like I didn't want to sound too greedy, but you said like, go ahead, talk about yourself. Don't be afraid to do that. So that push was really, really helpful. And I don't know if you remember, but like I would always want to write a lot in like each sentence. So my sentences would be like 10 lines long,
Yes.
and you'd be like, you need to like break this down and make it sound a little better. And then obviously like helping me choose which stories to talk about that would really like showcase who I am, really, really helped me. So
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. And I think that's, you're kind of the quintessential applicant that I'm hoping to work with. It's someone who feels like you're kind of on the fence, or you feel like, I don't know how I'm really going to stand out.
Right.
And just giving you permission to be confident with who you are as a person and to put that in your essay. And then that also carries into interviews, right? Like
Right. Yeah.
it directly correlates with, hey, like, I know these are my strengths. We talked about this during my essay. That helps you prep for interviews, and get ready to roll from there. So
Yeah.
well done. And you did great. Like, yes, it was hard to get the feedback, but you took what I said and you put it into practice, and your essay was
Right.
awesome. So,
Yeah. Thanks.
so then let's fast forward. Then you submit your application, and then talk me through what happened after that.
Yeah. So I think I submitted my application like late August, and about
Good
a
job.
week later, what was that?
Good job.
Yeah, thanks.
Got it in early. That's good.
That I was also really nervous about that. Like I needed to submit it right away. But I think it was like a week later, I heard back from 2 different schools about interviews. And I was like, whoa, okay, this is happening really, really fast. And then I think the first interview was scheduled like 2 weeks after I submitted my apps. And I remember like going through a lot of your YouTube videos too that talked about interviews, and like you made sure, I saw this one video where you were like, make sure to ask questions at the end of your interview to show that like, you really, really care about the school, and you're like, you want to know more. That was really helpful. And then also I know you made like a most commonly asked like interview questions video.
Yeah.
That was also really helpful. So that's what I kind of use to gear myself and get ready for that.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. That's great. That's what they're there for, to
Right.
kind of get you ready in a pinch. So then you had your interviews and you did some preparation. You got ready for it.
Yeah.
How did everything turn out?
So I ended up getting 2 acceptances back, and yeah. It's also very early, so I don't know what the other schools would say, but I feel really confident in my choice, and I ended up choosing Azusa Pacific
Awesome.
University. So yeah.
Congrats. That's so fun.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
How does that feel to be like, you know what? I changed my career path. I had to take a gap year.
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if I was going to do it. Now that it's all come together, what does that feel like? Does it still has sunk in, or what are you feeling?
I mean, it still feels surreal, but I feel like a huge weight is like lifted off my shoulders. Because for the longest time, like since I knew I wanted to be a PT, I was like, okay, I have to get the highest grades. I have to get the highest scores. Like my application has to be perfect. And just knowing that it did work out just feels really, really good. But I have to say that I don't think it would have worked out at all without your help. So I just want to say again, thank you so much.
Well, I like to share, kind of like with my patients, right? Is My job is just to tell you what to do and how you can do it. And your job is to do it. Right.
Right.
So the credit goes to you for taking the coaching and applying it. And then obviously all the hard work that you put in for years up until, I get to work with you in this tiny little window of time. That's very crucial. It's important. Right. But so much of the work that you put in, that's what allows you to have a good essay, because you've had all these experiences, you've worked with all these patients, and then we can write about that. Right. And if you wouldn't have put in that work, then your essays wouldn't be very good. It's just the way it goes.
It was also really reassuring to me because I knew how many students you helped, and I know your experience in this area.
Right.
So in a really overwhelming time, it was really reassuring to have you in my corner, just letting me know I'm doing the right thing. So that was really, really helpful.
And when it's enough, when you're I'm done, you're good, you're fine. Don't worry about
right.
This
Yeah, that's
right.
It.
Yeah. I had another question. Oh, so you said after you decided to do PT, you're I have to get the best grades. Everything has to go right. Did everything go exactly the way you planned?
No, and that's okay. You don't have to get an A in every single class to feel good about yourself. Like I said earlier, you are so much more than a grade. You are so much more than a number, and the admission committee will see that, through interviews and through your essays. So it's okay if things don't go right the first time, and it'll work out in the end.
Right.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. I think it's just always good for applicants to hear that, because
we
just all have that pressure of, if I get 1B, I'm done for. I'll never get into PT school, right? And I was there. I remember those feelings as well. Okay, so why did you choose Azusa?
So there were so many reasons. It is very close to my house, so I'm able to stay home and commute and don't pay for housing, which is nice.
That's huge.
Yeah.
Especially in California.
Right, exactly. Also, I know they have this brand new buildings, everything, all the equipment they use is brand new. They just had a couple $1 million donation to the PT department. So everything is perfect, everything's new. Yeah. And all the professors are just so professional, and they're really experts in the field. So it's really reassuring to know that I'll be learning from them. And yeah, I just feel really prepared and excited to start.
And when do you start?
We start in January. I think it's the second week of January. It's very early. Yeah.
I think that's the earliest program. I mean, obviously it depends on some schools start different, but that's great. You get to jump on it. And then how long is their program? Is their program accelerated at all, or is it still just
3 years?
3 years? Okay.
Yeah, it's normal 3 years. Yeah.
Gotcha. So what advice do you have for future pre-PTs that are coming up, that are maybe they're at the same place that you are? They decided they want to change. Maybe they're pre-med or pre-dental or pre-whatever.
Right.
What advice do you have for those people who are either just starting out or just getting ready to apply?
Yeah, so I would definitely recommend your services to them. It's like I said before, it's
shameless plug.
Always so reassuring to have an expert, behind you, and someone to go to, someone to ask questions about. Because, in undergrad, for me, there wasn't really anyone I could go to ask questions about this. At UCI, we didn't really have, a PT major, anything like that, geared for PT. So it was very new, trying to figure out everything about PT CAS and, everything that goes along with it. So definitely recommend your services to them.
Awesome.
And then I would also just stress again that, if your GPA and GRE scores aren't the highest, don't let that discourage you. You are much, much more than a number, and you just have to make that come across in other sections, and it'll be okay,
Perfect.
And lastly, I really found information sessions to be helpful. I know a lot of schools do hold those, especially over Zoom now. From different states, you can go and watch their information session. You get to know the faculty, you get to know the students, and you really get a sense of what the school is like. Because sometimes you don't really know about a school. You just maybe heard of the name of it, and you're maybe I want to apply there, but you don't know too much.
Sure.
And that information sessions are just really, really helpful to go to. And you can even bring it up in your interviews. If you're going to interview, be yeah, in the information session, I know you guys talked about this. Mm-hmm. And that makes them, wow, they really care about going to this school. So
that's great advice.
Yeah.
It's great advice. I don't think anyone has specifically listed that before.
Cool.
So that's really good. It's fantastic. Well, Mel, thank you so much for taking the time to come on and to share your experience, your success, your journey, and your perspective and insights as to what can help you do what you're doing, getting into PT school.
Yeah,
If
thanks,
you
Sean.
have any future issues or concerns, you're part of the physical therapy application coach family. And
Awesome.
over the next few years, we're going to kind of expand this thing out. So it's going to be, we help you apply to PT school, we help you apply yourself in PT school, and then we help you apply to your first job. So that's going to be kind of our
Awesome.
life cycle over the next few years. And